How's wedding planning?
Oh my god, so the moment I saw Lauren Sanchez stepping out in that wedding gown, I was like, wait, hold on, is this real life? Because she literally looked like she walked out of a billionaire's dream fantasy. And the way that dress hugged her body it was made of liquid diamond silk, I swear. I thought she was gonna float instead of walk, and you know how sometimes a dress just feels expensive and other times it feels like it costs more than your entire bloodline. Well, this one was the second. One, because that gown was giving goddess, queen, yacht captain, futuristic first lady all at the same time, and Jeff Bezos in that clean-fitted white tux with that smug little smirk like he just bought the moon and put a ring on it. I mean, it was giving money, it was giving power, it was giving this is not a wedding, this is an event. This is a declaration of domination, and when I say Lauren Sanchez knows how to own a room, I mean she knows how to vacuum up all the attention like a Dyson, because the moment she stepped onto the scene, no one even remembered who Jeff Bezos was, and that says a lot considering he is literally the second richest man on earth, or maybe first depending on how much stock he sold this week. And did you see her hair? That long flowing Hollywood blowout that looked like it was styled by the wind of Mount Olympus itself, and those earrings. I mean, they were just dangling there like, yes, we are six figures and we know it, and the veil, oh my god, the veil was just whispering secrets to the clouds. I swear I felt like it was trying to tell me that the secrets of the universe are hidden in Lauren Sanchez's wedding dress, because the whole outfit just screamed this is a woman who never settles for less and who absolutely will arrive in a helicopter if the car ride is even a second late. And Jeff Bezos, standing there like a human checkbook with legs, was just smiling like a man who knows he's never losing another argument again in his life. And can we please talk about the shoes, because when I tell you those heels could probably transmit WIFA and order a yacht, they were sleek. They were sharp, they were metallic, and probably custom made by an Italian shoemaker who only works on Tuesdays for royal clients. And I don't know what kind of skincare routine Lauren Sanchez is on, but her skin was glowing like it was photoshopped in real life. Like it was radiating golden hour energy at nighttime, and the entire vibe of this wedding fashion was just, hey, look at us, we are the power couple of the future. We do not come to play, we come to slay and maybe launch a new luxury space fashion brand while we are at it. And honestly, I am still recovering because the color coordination was out of this world. It was ivory, it was platinum, it was subtly flexing generational wealth without even trying, and the tailoring was so sharp it could cut glass, and you could just tell that every single inch of fabric was blessed by a stylist who probably charges $1 million just to blink, and the backdrop of that Mediterranean coastline just made everything 10 times more glamorous. Like this wasn't a wedding, this was a Bond movie premiere, and Lauren Sanchez was every Bond girl ever in one body. And the drama of it all, the sunglasses, the couture, the way everyone else looked like they were attending the wedding of the century, because spoiler alert, they were. And even the guests were fashion statements, like no one dared show up underdressed, because they knew this was Fashion Olympics, and Lauren and Jeff were taking gold. And when she turned and that dress caught the light, it was like watching a diamond walk into the sun, and I swear my screen glitched because reality couldn't handle that much shine in her pose, her confidence, her entire aura was like, yes, I am the bride, I am the blueprint, I am the billionaire Barbie. And Jeff was just there beaming like he knew he hit the jackpot, not just financially but spiritually. Like this is the woman who makes boardroom sharks nervous in fashion, critics speechless. And don't even get me started on the accessories, because that ring looked like it had its own zip code, and the clutch she carried was probably made of meteor dust and mermaid tears. And I just know her perfume cost more than a car and probably smells like time travel and elite access. And the walk, oh my god, the way she walked down that aisle, it was like a fashion runway met a royal coronation and had a baby. And that baby grew up to be Lauren Sanchez on her wedding day, and I am not exaggerating when I say that the fashion was so iconic. I forgot how to breathe for a moment, because it wasn't just a dress, it was a power move. And I just think if aliens ever came to Earth and asked who runs this planet, we should just show them photos of this wedding and they'll understand. And honestly, I feel like this wedding fashion needs to be studied in schools, because it was architectural, it was emotional, it was mathematical precision and poetic elegance rolled into one. And Jeff Bezos with his tailored tuxedo and that clean shave and those shades was giving futuristic CEO married to the queen of the universe. And I still cannot get over how intentional every detail was. Like this was not a wedding, this was a fashion thesis. And Lauren was defending it with full marks, and the whole look said, I am here to be remembered, I am here to be iconic, I am here to make every bridal magazine cry tears of joy and fear, and honestly this entire look just proves that money can't buy taste. But when you have both money and taste, you end up looking like Lauren Sanchez on her wedding day, and this fashion was a flex. It was a sermon, it was a whole cinematic. Universe and I have not known peace since I saw it, and probably never will again, absolutely. So picking up right where we left off, because I still cannot get over how every single thread of Lauren Sanchez's gown looked like it had its own publicist and was trained in how to move for the camera, like the fabric itself had a personality, and it said, "I do not wrinkle, I do not crease, I only float and shimmer and serve looks." And when she turned around in that open back, revealed just the right amount of skin, like it was mathematically engineered to break the internet but still stay classy. I felt like fashion had reached its final form, like there was no going further from here. This was the peak, the summit, the Mount Everest of bridal couture. And then you look over at Jeff Bezos, and the man is wearing a tuxedo so sharp you could shave with it, and the lapels were probably stitched with invisible thread made from billionaire ambition and possibly the future of AI, and his cufflinks look like they were carved from the bones of extinct dinosaurs or whatever the richest man on earth keeps in his closet. And the fact that he didn't even have to try to match her energy, but still somehow did it, tells you that this couple is not just rich, they are synchronized, they are locked in, they are calibrated to the exact same level of aesthetic supremacy. And let's not pretend that veil didn't look like a portal to another dimension, because the way it trailed behind her like a silk cloud was actual poetry in motion. And you could tell the stylist was like, "We're not just dressing you for a wedding, we're dressing you for history. We're dressing you like you're the woman who's going to go down in fashion legend." And honestly, they succeeded, because this was not just an outfit, this was a legacy. And I just know that dress has its own private security detail and temperature controlled vault, because you don't hang up a gown like that, you enshrine. You give it a museum wing and a guided tour, and those earrings, those enormous dripping dazzling earrings, were not just jewelry, they were declarations. They said, "I am rich, I am radiant, and I do not care if the sun is offended by how hard I shine." And every angle, every pose, every photo just kept serving face, body, presence, and power. Like Lauren Sanchez did not come to play, she came to snatch wigs, break algorithms, and make you reconsider your entire wardrobe. And even the guests were clearly told in advance, like, "Listen, this is not your cousin's backyard wedding, this is Bezos level. This is prime shipping on elegance, this is couture, go home." And you could see it in the way every single person was dressed like they were attending the Met Gala on a yacht. And speaking of yachts, the location itself felt like it was flexing too. Like the entire coast was like, "We heard a power couple was getting married, so we decided to sparkle extra hard." And the sea breeze was like, "Yes, queen, we will only blow in flattering directions today." And the lighting was cinematic. It was golden, it was glowing like it was hired by Vogue for an exclusive shoot. And Lauren Sanchez knew it, she knew her angles, she knew her moment, she knew that this was not just a day, this was an era, and she embodied it like a woman who has lived 1,000 lives and decided this one would be the most glamorous. And Jeff Bezos just kept standing there like a man who invented money and then fell in love, and now wants to buy love its own private island and name it after her. And honestly, who's going to stop him? Because when you have that kind of wealth and that kind of woman by your side, you just smile and nod and try not to blink too fast, because everything around you is too bright, too beautiful, too perfect. And the photos that came out of this wedding looked like luxury catalogs for a planet where everyone is famous, everyone is rich, and everyone is dressed by the gods. And I genuinely believe that somewhere Anna Wintour gasped and whispered, "Finally someone understands," and probably added a new category to Vogue just to account for Lauren's bridal supremacy. And the makeup, my god, the makeup was flawless, it was radiant, it was dewy and sculpted and somehow natural, while also being the most glamorous thing you've ever seen. Like she was kissed by moonlight and then lightly brushed with stardust, and her nails were perfect, her shoes were perfect, her standing tall smiling like a man who just won the emotional lottery and also the actual lottery, because let's not forget he looked like $1 billion in motion. And the way he looked at her, like he knew this woman, this moment, this fashion was the pinnacle of his journey from garage startup to groom of the decade. And can we please talk about how the architecture of that dress made every frame look like a Renaissance painting? It was balanced, it was bold, it was soft, it was everything all at once. And she didn't walk, she floated, she didn't pose, she reigned, and the camera didn't just capture her, it bowed to her, and every inch of fabric was alive. It wasn't stiff or sculpted in the traditional sense, it was fluid but intentional. Like a couture whisper floating across marble and his suit again, let's go back to it because the lapels had the shimmer, not flashy. Just elevated like a visual footnote that said, yes, this was custom made. Yes, it was hand-stitched. Yes, it knows. It's perfect, and the button stance was impeccable, like the geometry of the entire fit was so sharp it could cut diamonds, and probably did, and I just know the inside of that suit had a monogram and a quote and probably a secret bank vault key stitched into the lining because rich people tuxedos come with bonus features, and the tailoring around the shoulders was giving strength and posture and power without effort. It was ease, it was grace, it was ownership of the moment, and when they stood side by side, the contrast was perfection, her softness and glow, his sharpness and polish like yin and yang, but dressed by Bowman and Tom Ford, and their body language was insane. It wasn't staged, it wasn't awkward, it was pure chemistry. But styled it was. We've got the love and the look and the legacy, and we're wearing it all at once, and you could feel it through the screen like their vibe was radiating through the pixels and wrapping around your neck like a designer scarf. And the fabric of her dress in motion was so light, it could have been made of champagne bubbles and stardust, and the neckline framed her face like the dress was sculpted backward from a portrait. And the bouquet again, I swear those flowers weren't picked, they were chosen by a council of florists under moonlight with incense and chanting, because they weren't just flowers, they were part of the aesthetic spell she was casting. And Jeff's watched that subtle flash of luxury under the cuff, like a little whisper that said, yes, I know what time it is, it's the time I married the baddest, most beautiful, most breathtaking woman on earth, and every guest, every photographer, every stylist probably just gave up on trying to compete and decided to enjoy the privilege of witnessing a living fashion fantasy. And you could tell the lighting was chosen by a genius, because the shadows and highlights made the gown look like it was shifting moods with the sun, like it had its own emotional arc. And the earrings again, they moved when she moved, they danced in the light, they echoed the lines of the dress. They weren't just accessories, they were extensions of her presence, and that tiny train that followed her like a silk shadow was the most elegant punctuation mark in the history of bridal fashion, and every frame felt like a quote, every pose a headline, every smile a cultural reset. Fashion fever dream. And I just want to say that Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos did not just get married, they orchestrated a visual symphony of power, beauty, wealth, and precision that redefined what wedding fashion even means, because what we witnessed wasn't just a dress or a tux, it was a masterclass, it was a message, it was a declaration that when money meets style and confidence meets love, the result is something that transcends normal fashion language and becomes art, becomes energy, becomes unforgettable. And Lauren Sanchez didn't just wear a gown, she embodied it, she animated it, she made it speak and sing and shine. And Jeff Bezos didn't just wear a suit, he elevated the very concept of groom attire into something clean, commanding, and cutting edge, and together they created an aesthetic moment that no one could look away from, because every detail from the stitch on his cuff to the angle of her veil was curated with almost supernatural awareness. And the photos, the footage, the vibes all confirm what we knew the second we saw them side by side. This was not a regular celebrity wedding, this was a look into the future. This was what happens when two people with unlimited access to the world's best talent, resources, fabric, and vision decide to align their frequencies and serve a moment so iconic that it breaks the internet, melts timelines, and imprints itself in fashion history forever. And yes, there will be imitators, there will be recreations and references, but this energy, this look, this statement, it was one of one, it was lightning in a designer bottle. And Lauren Sanchez proved herself not just a bride, not just a partner, but a style titan, an image maker, a woman whose presence alone commands reverence. And Jeff Bezos showed the world that even the richest man alive can still level up when love, style, and purpose meet. And now every wedding from here on will live in their shadow, not out of failure, but out of respect, because this wasn't just a union of people, it was a merger of elegance and dominance and grace and grit and glow. And I think the real takeaway here is that fashion is more than fabric, it's identity, it's story, it's ambition, and when done right, it becomes eternal. And that's what we just witnessed, something eternal, something unrepeatable, something that will be studied, envied, admired, and remembered. And that is the power of wedding fashion when it's worn not just by bodies, but by icons. Posture was perfect, and the way she walked, like every step was a punctuation mark in the sentence of fashion history, made me want to stand up and applaud, even though I was just watching through my screen. And the way Jeff looked at her, you could just tell he was thinking, I may have built Amazon, but she's the real empire. And honestly, same, because Lauren Sanchez on our wedding day was not a bride, she was a force of nature. She was the storm and the calm and the sparkle and the thunder. And we are all just lucky to have witnessed it. Let's go, because I'm still spinning in a fashion-induced trance, trying to understand how Lauren Sanchez managed to redefine wedding fashion with one look, and the way the gown just flowed, it didn't move, it floated, it glided like it wasn't walking on earth, it was walking on something more sacred, like a marble runway in a palace, carved by time and money and romance. And that bodice, the sculpted neckline, the way it framed her collarbones, like an artist painting with fabric, it was literal sculpture on skin. It was Renaissance meets futuristic glam. It was like someone took every great wedding dress from every era, melted them down, and reforged them into one iconic masterpiece. And Jeff Bezos next to her, like some intergalactic tech king wearing custom couture from another planet, just smiling like he knew. This was more than a wedding, this was a moment of transformation. I swear when they walked side by side, it wasn't just a couple, it was a symbol. It was a power duo entering their final form. And you know how some wedding looks age poorly in a few years because trends change and silhouettes fade out? Well, not this one, because this was timeless, this was forever. This was the kind of fashion that gets carved into marble statues and displayed in museums, because Lauren was not just wearing that dress, she was commanding it like it was alive, like it was responding to her presence, like it was trained to obey. Her every move in that soft wind that kept catching the edge of her veil, it was like nature itself was in on it, like the weather said, yes, we will cooperate because the look demands it. And the guests, I swear, the guests knew they were accessories to the bride and groom, like everyone showed up wearing their absolute best, because they knew if they didn't, they would be swallowed by the sheer force of the fashion energy radiating off this couple. And I need to talk about the color, because that pure perfect ivory shade was not just white, it was rich person white. It was hand-selected, flown in from Europe, triple washed on a cloud. What, it was clean and crisp and luxurious, and the way it looked against her skin tone was just divine. And then you zoom in and realize the texture of the dress was this intricate pattern, probably done by microscopic elves, because there's no way humans crafted something that delicate. And then there's Jeff in this tuxedo that probably has a chip in it that regulates the temperature and plays classical music if he gets stressed out, because he looked unbothered, smooth, confident, like the tuxedo was not just fitted, it was molded to his aura, and you could see the reflection of the sun off those polished shoes, like he was walking on mirrors. And don't even get me started on the couple's energy, because that wasn't just love, that was alliance, that was partnership, that was we are merging our destinies and creating a new house of fashion royalty. And I know somewhere Hollywood stylists just gave up and said, you win, Lauren, you win, Jeff, you win fashion, you win life. In the way the dress cinched at the waist like a whisper of elegance, and then just exploded into the soft, powerful flow of fabric that followed her like it was in love with her, made me want to cry and clap at the same time. And you know those moments when someone looks so good, you question your life choices? Yeah, this was that multiplied by 1,000. Because Lauren Sanchez didn't just raise the bar, she broke it, melted it down, and used it to craft a new runway. And the hair, my god. The hair was so glossy, so voluminous, so precise, like it had its own lighting crew. And the soft wave was romantic and confident and powerful all at once. And Jeff just stood there glowing like a man who has seen the future and realized it's wearing couture and walking down the aisle toward him. And the styling, the angles, the silhouettes, everything about this wedding fashion was crafted not just to impress, but to hypnotize. And it worked, because I'm still here thinking about it, dreaming about it, obsessing over every little detail, and wondering how one couple can look so rich, so powerful, so fashion forward, and still so perfectly in sync. Like everything about their looks was complementary. Her softness and elegance balanced by his structure and edge, and together they were the visual equivalent of a mic drop, because there's no way we're stopping now, not when the image of Lauren Sanchez standing at the altar looking like the queen of a kingdom made entirely of diamonds is still burned into my brain. And the way the sunlight hit her gown at just the right angle, like even nature was directing the shot.
This is Irene Newworth jewelry. Can you believe this? And she made it to go with this dress. They coordinated the look.
Okay, this, my friends, is a red carpet
made from some kind of rare fabric that only reflects luxury and confidence. And when she turned and smiled, the entire aesthetic of the wedding shifted. Like, yes, this was a celebration, but also a coronation, because Lauren was not walking down the aisle, she was ascending to her throne. And Jeff Bezos, with his billion-dollar grin and his tux that probably had a backup tux built into it in case of emergency, was just standing there like a man who knows the universe has finally aligned for him. And the synergy between Their styles was ridiculous, like her flowing dress matched perfectly with the clean crisp lines of his suit, and together they looked like the blueprint for future fashion power couples, like the AI-generated ideal of elegance and confidence in ton. Let's talk about the neckline again, because the way it shaped her frame was like a love letter to tailoring. It wasn't just flattering, it was engineered. It was calculated, it was perfect, and it said, "Look at me, admire me, know that I was designed to dominate every photo, every memory, every headline." And I can't even imagine the fittings, the hours, the energy that went into creating that look, because it wasn't just a gown, it was a vision, it was a mission, it was an aesthetic manifesto. And the makeup was so soft and glowing and precise, like it wasn't even makeup, it was just a perfect aura applied with a brush, and those lashes were fluttering like whispers of power, and the lip color was exactly the right shade to say, "I'm polished, I'm radiant, and I'm marrying the man who probably owns the building you're standing in." And I swear that bouquet she held was probably arranged by a florist who signs endos before touching a stem, and the flowers looked like they were grown exclusively for her, like each petal had her initials engraved on it in invisible ink. And the ceremony setting the backdrop, the ambience, everything felt curated down to the molecules, and when they stood there holding hands, you could feel the presence. Like this wasn't just two people exchanging vows, this was a cultural shift, a style revolution, a moment that people will reference for the next 100 years, and I guarantee fashion schools are already printing out full dissertations on the meaning and impact of Lauren Sanchez's wedding look, because it wasn't trend, it was tradition being reborn, it was glamour rediscovered. In Jeff's suit, I need to talk more about that suit, because the tailoring was ruthless and the best way. Like it hugged him without pulling, it sat perfectly on his frame like gravity itself, stepped back to let the fit be clean, and the shoes were polished to the point of reflection, like you could see your insecurities in them. And I just know he didn't sweat even once, because the fabric probably has nanotech cooling built into it, because rich people tuxedos aren't made of normal material, they're made from promise and perfection and algorithms. And honestly, I feel like every stylist in the industry just took notes and said, okay, this is the new standard. And don't forget the jewelry, those subtle but powerful touches, the watches, the rings, the accessories that said, yes, I have access to things you've never even heard of. And no, I will not apologize for how flawless I look and the way they stood together. At the altar, it was almost unfair how balanced and beautiful they looked, like two characters from a novel, where the plot is just fashion and power and passion, and perfect lighting, and every camera angle captured something iconic. Like there were no bad shots, every frame was editorial. Every moment was a magazine cover. And I'm not saying this wedding fashion was spiritual, but I do feel changed, like I've been enlightened, like I've seen the final form of bridal elegance. And from now on, every wedding I attend will be compared to this one, and will probably fail, because this wasn't just a fashion moment. This was a fashion earthquake, because there's still so much to unpack, and honestly, I don't think words will ever be enough to fully capture the impact of what Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos did to wedding fashion, because this wasn't a dress, this wasn't a tux, this was an experience. It was an event in itself. Like when you close your eyes, you don't remember a single detail, you remember the full force of it, like being hit by a luxury tidal wave. And the moment she stepped onto the aisle, everything just paused, like the earth took a breath to acknowledge her presence. And that silence wasn't awkward, it was sacred. It was reverence for the way she moved, for the glow she carried, for the silhouette that melted into the sea breeze, like the ocean itself had been rehearsing for her entrance. And then there was Jeff standing